Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to get you informed fast. Today, we are really digging into something called the Fractal Universe Framework. It's this fascinating blend of science, philosophy, even personal stories, and it aims to kind of reshape how we think about consciousness, time, even who you are, our goal. Pull out the most, well, surprising facts and big ideas, hopefully give you some aha moments. So let's start at the beginning. There was this really unexpected observation that kicked the whole thing off,
Yes.
right? Something about the age kids develop an ego, like 2 or 3 years old, and how that connects to, of all things, how our breath spreads around the globe. What was that link?
Yeah, it's a pretty wild starting point.
Yeah.
But that observation, that timing, led them to this idea of atmospheric integration. The thinking is maybe your breath isn't just air. Maybe it's an actual exchange, like a constant, quiet conversation happening between all living things through the atmosphere. They call it the breath field.
Yeah.
It's proposed as this sort of circulating informational layer of human expression. And the idea is that this field actually helps shape our ego. Like the ego is a kind of refracted beam of consciousness from this larger field. So breath becomes way more than just biology, you see. It's potentially fundamental to consciousness itself.
Wow, okay. Connecting our breath to a global consciousness field, that's definitely mind-bending. And I find it really compelling how the framework then takes things often seen as, weird personal experiences, like time feeling like it's stretching or your sense of self feeling a bit fluid. And it doesn't dismiss them. It treats them as like actual data points.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really, really interesting for a lot of people, I think. Especially if you've ever felt like you experienced the world, well, a bit differently. It completely reframes neurodivergence. So things often labeled, maybe mistakenly, as dysfunctions, ADHD, autism, for example, they're seen differently here. Not as deficits, but maybe as a heightened fidelity, a unique way of tuning into your full 4D self.
Huh. Heightened fidelity.
Yeah, the suggestion is you might not be disordered. You might just be, well, too aware. Perceiving things, dimensions maybe, that others are trained to ignore or just naturally filter out.
That's a really powerful way to think about it, a total perspective shift. But, okay, this sounds incredibly deep and frankly subjective. How on earth do you study something like a breath field or measure emotional gravity in a, rigorous scientific way?
Right, that's the key challenge. And it's where the dual lens approach comes in. It's quite clever, actually. It tries to build this bridge between what they call the inner lens, that's your personal felt experience, your phenomenology, and the outer lens, which uses the objective tools we know from physics, cognitive science, that sort of thing. So it respects those subjective feelings, like time slowing down. But then it works really hard to translate them into things you can measure.
Yeah.
Like using heart rate variability, HRV, to look for physiological correlates.
Ah, got it. So connecting the feeling to something tangible.
Precisely. Taking what you feel and finding its echo in measurable reality. And it's interesting, this approach, this deep dive into human experience, is actually starting to inform other fields too, like how we might design ethical AI in the future.
Okay, that's fascinating. So we've got the breath origin, the reframing of perception. Let's try and boil this down. What are the, say, 3 core ideas from this framework that change how you, the listener, might see yourself and time?
Okay, 3 big ones. First, there's the 4D shadow hypothesis. It suggests your whole self isn't just who you are now. It's more like a temporal sculpture, a 4-dimensional thing stretching across your whole life and your experience right now. It's just a 3D slice or shadow of that bigger identity, which is constantly evolving, by the way.
Like one frame in a movie of your whole life.
Kind of, yeah, a snapshot of a much larger unfolding reality. Second big idea, chronoceptional dynamics. This is subjective time. How you experience time passing isn't fixed. It's not like a clock ticking steadily. It actually bends and stretches.
Bends and stretches? How?
Based on your emotions,
Right.
primarily. Also, your attention, your body's rhythms. They term this emotional gravity.
Emotional gravity, like how time seems to crawl during an accident.
Exactly. Or flies by when you're having fun.
Right.
The framework suggests this isn't just a feeling. It implies you have real, measurable agency over how you perceive time.
So our feelings might not just change how we feel about time, but maybe how time is actually experienced by us. That's huge. Okay, what's the third one?
The third, which kind of ties it all together, is the fractal universe concept. This proposes that everything about you, your thoughts, your beliefs, how you see the world, even the patterns in your life, they show these recursive, self-similar structures, like fractals in nature.
Like those complex patterns that repeat at different scales?
Precisely. The idea is that you are fundamentally a fractal object, always unfolding. Think of a coastline from space versus up close, same kind of jagged pattern, just different levels of detail. You're like that. Infinitely complex, yet with underlying unifying patterns that repeat and evolve.
Wow. Okay, so this whole deep dive into the fractal universe framework, it's really asking you to see yourself, your time experience, your unique perceptions, not as static or broken, but as dynamic, intricate, like these unfolding fractal patterns, interconnected. It's definitely a lot to chew on.
And stepping back for a second, these aren't just abstract ideas for self-help. You know, they're being thought about as potential design principles
Yeah.
for building future AI, perhaps.
Yeah.
How could we maybe create intelligent systems that reflect this kind of human depth and complexity? It's a big question.
So for you listening, what really jumps out from all this, how does thinking of yourself as a constantly evolving fractal object land with you? Or what about recognizing you might have some agency over your emotional time? Could that shift how you look at your own life, your own experiences? Definitely a powerful new lens to consider, something to really mull over.